like they did on Wednesday. Hello Facebook, how's everybody over there? I was just saying I hope very much today that you will be able to be with me for the whole of my little broadcast. Don't forget, I am on Instagram as well, live here, so you can find me on Liz Earle Me, and hello to YouTube. Now if you're watching me on YouTube, you should hopefully like this new format, so we're actually broadcasting this way. So we're going to try it and see. So do let me know. You can always pop a comment onto YouTube, can't you? So as I was just saying to Instagram, I'm back here on my farm. Had a busy few days. I'm going to be putting some pictures up later on my Instagram because yesterday was my middle son's 18th birthday. I mean, how can that be? How can these tiny tots just kind of grow? And you'll see in the pictures if you take a look, he is, way, way taller than me. And we had a really nice, very quiet family dinner here on the farm, and it was just lovely to kind of gather everybody and just celebrate in a very calm, quiet way, no big party, but yeah, just marking a moment in time, and he had a happy day. I have to say I have yet to see him this morning, not that it is this morning, is it? It's the afternoon. So goodness knows what time he's going to surface, but there you go. He had a good time, and we ended up putting the music on and dancing around, and anyway, it was good. So I'm a little bit bleary today, and I'm a bit kind of all dishevelled. I just ran into the shower earlier and just kind of left my hair to dry. Thank you. This shirt actually is a new one for me, and it is floral. I know it's Friday, so we've got our kind of floral Friday fashion theme going on. And this, I rather liked it. It's Oliver Bonas, which is a brand that I've mentioned before. It's a really nice British founder-led brand. And it's viscose, which is a renewable, sustainable fibre. And I rather like it because it's got a mix of the patterns. So we know that polka dots have been kind of all the rage this year. And this has got the mix of the polka dot with this kind of little pretty shoulder pad detail. And yeah, and a kind of floral pattern. So it's got the black and white and the spots, and it's just very easy to wear. It's nicely elasticated. Do like a nice elasticated waist, especially after a large dinner last night. And the V-neck, which I like, which is always quite flattering. So there you go. So I popped a link on my link tree on Instagram if you fancy checking it out. I know Amy, hello Amy, I know that you'll pop a link as well, and I'm going to put it onto Liz Loves to Wear. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but we've kind of expanded the Liz Love section on the Liz Earle Wellbeing website. So if ever you think back to anything I was wearing, you can head there and there'll be a link to it because so many of you ask, which is really nice. Now, another thing that I like about Oliver Bonas, actually, because I was exploring them, and this really, I guess, came out of something that I just threw out as a question on one of my Instagram lives and Facebook lives a while ago. I was talking about body brushing. And body brushing is something that I'm a real fan of. And I showed one of these, and this, I've got a really old one. And it's, I mean, I don't know how many years I've had it. But anyway, I wanted to buy another one. And I just said, does anybody know where I can get one of these? And lo, the response was, go to Oliver Bonas. So that's what made me have another look at their website. And sure enough, they had these. These are Sisal. And they are such a great way. I don't know if you've ever tried body brushing, but it's such a great way to get your lymphatic system moving, just really help to give the metabolism a boost. It's super easy. You always do it on dry skin. We've got a whole feature actually on it on Liz Earle Wellbeing. So Amy, my love, you can probably find a link, can't you, and pop it on Facebook. And I think we'll find a link and pop it on Instagram on the link tree as well, so you can find it easily. If not, just head to lizearlewellbeing.com, search body brushing, and it'll come up. Oh, she's done it already. Amy, you're so quick. So basically what you do with body brushing is I always do it before a shower. So you do it on dry skin and work up the body. So you kind of want to whisk away the dead skin cells. And if you stand in the sunlight, actually, you can see the dead skin cells just kind of fly off. So it's a really good way of exfoliating, sort of manually exfoliating the body. Start with the soles of your feet. And when you just kind of do this over the soles of your feet, you are stimulating all those reflex endings, all the little nerve endings in your feet. So you're really sort of starting to get the body stimulated, and then you work up the body, and you can focus on where we've got lymph nodes. So, the backs of the knees, the groin area, the armpits. So always brush in the direction of the heart. So once you've worked your way up the body, you can do your back as well, which is nice. Just feels so invigorating. And then you can do your arms, backs of your arms. You're always working towards the heart. So swapping over like that. Don't do the chest area because it's a bit too sensitive, but you can do your tummy, and particularly you can focus on hips and thighs. Really good for helping to improve signs of puffiness, for example. Just a very, very good way of getting the body going and stimulating the lymphatics and the blood circulation and all of that. And in fact, talking about hips and thighs, when I was on the Oliver Bonas website, I also discovered this little gadget, which I really like, which comes from another really ethical company, Hydrea. I think they import them. Maybe they're made in Greece, I think, from the natural sisal. Anyway, this is a really good shape for hips and thighs because you've got the sisal brushes and you've got these little nodules, so you can really, work your way around hips and thighs. And I did this morning. Yes, I did. And I felt very invigorated, actually. So, it can you can build it in as part of your routine. It's only takes a minute or two in the morning, but actually the benefits for the skin and overall well-being, I think, are very good. It's well worth trying. So anyway, head to lizearlewellbeing.com. You can read the article if you fancy, all about dry skin body brushing. It's something that I've talked about for, well, it seems like forever. Those of you who've got some of my very early books written 20, 30 years ago will discover me banging on about dry skin body brushing. And I know my good friend, the founder of Legology, another great British brand, another great female founder, she's a big fan of dry skin body brushing as well. So you can check her out. She's on Facebook, Legology, and also on Instagram. So those are my body brushes. And talking about boosting the metabolism through all of that, I'm going to talk in just a moment about Weed and Wonderful, which you may have heard me mention. I launched the Liz Loves discount that we've got with them. This is Weed and Wonderful, this lovely Hebridean seaweed. I don't know whether any of you have, I know lots of you have ordered it. I don't know whether anybody's actually got it yet. I don't know how quickly they dispatch. Lots of chat going on here about HRT, Calinetics, body brushing. Yeah, Barbie, I body brush every day. Probably need a new brush. Yep. Yeah, Silver, Rosemary Conley, hips and thighs. Excellent. Oh, so you've got your set of 3 oils coming. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, I think they are great. I will talk about them in just a second, but I'm first going to pour myself a cup of this. So this, and actually this is my last link to Oliver Bonas. You could tell I spent quite a long time on their website. This is their beautiful teapot. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. I mean, I do love clear teapots anyway. You've probably seen me use them. And I've got one that I've had for years from John Lewis, I think, but it's plain. And it's very nice and you can see the herbs and everything. But I just thought this shape was lovely. And what I've got in here is so delicious. This is my turmeric bug. So those of you who've got the Good Gut box and made your turmeric drink, because it takes about 7 to 10 days to make it because it's a fermented drink, this is what it turns into. That is so delicious. So basically, once you've made your turmeric starter, so you probably saw me, well, I hope you saw me in my studios earlier, maybe it was last week when I started it. So you get your little dried turmeric bug, and it comes, those of you that haven't yet seen it, this is the Good Gut box here, full of your ferments to get started. And I know I've got lots of questions about that, so I will come on to those in just a second. Lovely cardboard packaging. So this comes with things like your organic brown sugar, packed in cardboard. You get your turmeric bug. Oh, you can just see Instagram has, there we go. So this is the little organic turmeric bug starter that you get in here. And I'm probably going to need scissors to get into that. Oh no, maybe I can do this just to show you. This is the second one that I've got actually. I already made the first one. So when you get it, it looks a little bit like this, like a little kind of piece of orange coal. And that's your starter, and you put that in a jar and you basically grow it. So you just feed it with some nice warm water and some sugar and some turmeric, and then the Good Gut bugs in this start to grow and ferment, a bit like an old-fashioned ginger beer plant, and it just turns itself into a really super delicious, like a concentrated cordial, and it doesn't taste particularly turmeric-y, I wouldn't say. I would say it's got quite a lot of lemons in it. When you actually then take your concentrate, you then dilute it with 3 litres of water and a little bit more sugar and the juice of 2 lemons. So it's like kind of a low sugar cordial, with the added benefit of having your good gut bugs. So it's like a probiotic soft drink, if you like. So it's an alternative to kombucha. So kombucha I love, but I know it's quite tangy. Some people say it's a bit too vinegary. So, you know, it's horses for courses. This is just an alternative. This is something that's very easy to drink during the day. You know, I'm certainly going to be drinking this all weekend. Absolutely love it. And if you want to, you can serve it warm. I wouldn't have it too hot because then you're going to kill off some of the probiotic goodness. But if you wanted to, I would put some of the turmeric bug in there, the liquid, a little bit of cold water perhaps, and then just splash it, a little bit of boiling water in the top, just so that you don't get it too hot. So it's just nicely warm. It's very soothing as well. I think I was doing a lot of dancing and shouting and singing last night because my voice is going a bit croaky, so I'm enjoying this actually to soothe it. So just a word actually, if you are wanting to get your Good Gut box, they've been massively popular, so they are running at about a week's delay, just to let you know, because in there you get your kombucha SCOBY, you get your choice of yogurts, you get your creme fraiche starter, you get your water kefir grains, you get your milk kefir grains, and you get your lovely organic tea. This is great. This is the Blighty Brew organic green tea, and you get your organic sugar, and you get your recipe cards and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So if you want that, then they are making them. They are making them up for us, but I think they were a little bit surprised by the demand. So it will be coming to you shortly if you have ordered yours. Now, I wanted to talk about the metabolism again, coming back to kind of body brushing and that whole kind of issue about metabolism and weight and puffiness and cellulite and all of that. And I spoke on Wednesday about natural iodine, and these are the part of Weed and Wonderful. So Weed and Wonderful, if you check them out, this is the oil that I was talking about. This is the intense smoked seaweed oil. It's absolutely fantastic. Comes in a little box like this. And this is where they get the wild harvested seaweed from the Outer Hebrides, and they smoke it. And honestly, it's just incredible. You just need a few little drops like that, and you can pop it onto hard-boiled eggs, you could put it on baked potatoes, you could drizzle it over fish or chicken or halloumi cheese or tofu, you know, I mean, so many different things that you could do. Really, really good. And then in the 2 larger bottles, there's smoked Scottish seaweed, which is in this really pretty orange label, and that has got the actual bits of seaweed in it. You can't actually see that terribly well, but hopefully you can. If I show you a gap in the label, you can see that. And then this one, this is infused, they're both infused in organic rapeseed oil, British grown rapeseed oil. This one has got, if I give that a bit of a shake like a snow globe, you can see the actual bits of the genuine seaweed in there. So it's the real deal, which is really nice. And even better, we have 25% off everything. Isn't that cool? Liz Loves in capital letters gets you 25%, and you will find them at seaweedandco.com. And if you'd like to listen to their founder, they were started by a PhD doctor who's a marine biologist and a leading expert, global expert, in the benefits of seaweed and iodine and the metabolism. And this is one of their latest things, actually. It's natural iodine source. This is their Scottish seaweed capsules. And I did an interview with him earlier this week, and I have just popped it into my Friday 5. Just recorded my Friday 5, another reason why I was rushing this morning. And that's going to go live later on today. So that's my podcast. So if you haven't yet got a podcast app on your phone, just literally all smartphones have podcast apps. So I think for iPhones, they've got a little purple icon. Not sure what it is on Google, on Play Store for Android, but anyway, you can find it, and you can find it on Spotify, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Acast, so many different platforms. Or you can go to lizarwellbeing.com, and there's a podcast link. So I do every week, I do a little Friday 5, and it's usually about, 20 minutes or so, something like that, just talking about life and times and the world of well-being. And then we've just started this week our brand new series, so the Liz Earle Wellbeing show, which is my long form podcasts. So that started this Wednesday, and who has listened already? Who has listened to Patrick Holden? Because I re-listened to it. I re-listened to it in the car, and lots of chat going on Instagram and Facebook as well. It's lovely to see these communities chatting. Of course, that's if you're live. I know that when I post these later, you don't get the live chat. So if anybody's watching this on Instagram, for example, and you're thinking, what's she talking about, the live chat? It's because when you're live on IGTV, you can see everybody's comments come up and all the little hearts and everything. Thank you. There's massive. Julie, loved your podcast this week. Yeah, I mean, it was really fascinating. I recorded it. Abigail, really interesting. Yeah. I recorded it a few months ago. I recorded it before lockdown. So that's why if you watch it on YouTube, for example, because we also put the podcast on YouTube now, you will see that we're sitting right next to each other normally. And the pictures that I put onto my Instagram yesterday show us standing really close together. Patrick is a really old friend of mine, and I first met him. We were trying to work it out. It's probably about 25 years ago. So long before I was an organic farmer, just when I was somebody interested in the whole idea of organics and sustainability and regenerative farming, which is kind of the newer movement. Organic farming has kind of evolved into a much broader discussion, not only about organic, which is really important, but that's kind of one part of it. But also the whole nature of sustainability and soil health. So it comes back to the microbiome of the soil, as well as the microbiome of the gut, and the regeneration of the soil and carbon capture and all those really important things. And he's such an expert. He ran the Soil Association, I think, for 20 years. And then he started the Sustainable Food Trust. So talking much more broadly, not just focusing on organic, but much more broadly, with organic as part of it, obviously, but about this whole regenerative agricultural movement and food security and food issues and food production and supply and all of that. And I actually went to Washington for the launch of the Sustainable Food Trust. I was one of its very first ambassadors. Must be, oh gosh, Patrick, how long ago would that have been? 10 years? Is it that long? Maybe? I don't know. Where does time go? Maybe it wasn't that long. Maybe it was 6-7 years. I had to look it up for sure. Anyway, we launched in the Botanical Gardens in Washington, in the heart of Washington. Lovely place. Amazing curators there. Really, if you're ever in Washington, do go to the Botanical Gardens because they are an extraordinary, lovely place. Right in the heart of the city. Very near the White House. I mean, it's an extraordinary place. And anyway, Prince Charles came and he gave the first speech to launch the Sustainable Food Trust, and it was a relatively small group, really fascinating, and it was all about the true cost of food. And I've still got my notes actually from that evening, and it was really interesting, the cost of food. You know, people say organic food is very expensive, but when you factor in the real cost, you know, the fact that if you are buying intensively cultivated plant crops, for example, then there's a huge amount of fertiliser and pesticide, and that all gets into the watercourses as part of the runoff that goes from fields. And then we have to pay. The polluter doesn't pay. We pay with our water bills and all the cost to the taxpayer of cleaning up the water supply, to clean up from intensively produced food. So actually, you know, that was kind of one of the points. There are many other examples of that. But it's all about, let's look at the real cost. What are things really costing us? And, you know, we should if you're a meat eater, you know, let's eat less meat, but let's eat better quality. So we're not just grabbing, you know, cheap chicken that's intensively produced, and then the debate about grass-fed, and it's really interesting. So I highly recommend. I'd forgotten actually how interesting, because I record these podcasts and then my head is so full of other things, I kind of instantly move on to the next thing. And often some of the really insightful things kind of go out of my mind. But I did put it on and re-listen to it, and I thought, gosh, Patrick, you are absolutely spot on. And I think even now, more so, we've been focused, haven't we, on the last few months about food security. You know, these were issues that we weren't perhaps thinking front of mind. before lockdown, and we suddenly couldn't get things, and things couldn't be imported, or who was supporting the British farmers and growers, who was going to pick the crops, how are we going to get them into our shops if we can't process food because all the manufacturing is shut. We have to go back to cooking from scratch, and many of us started to cook again because we weren't able to have perhaps so many packet foods or access to fast food or takeaways or whatever. So it was just very interesting to listen to it and to think, actually the things that Patrick was talking about are really perhaps even more important and relevant today than we had realised they were going to be when we recorded it. So apologies, by the way, for those of you who were expecting ruby wax. I know I said last week on my Friday 5 that I would be launching the new series of the Liz Earle Wellbeing Show podcast with Ruby Wax, and I have recorded a very, very good podcast with her. But we contacted her PR team early this week just to say, we're going to go live with the podcast. And they were like, oh, no, wait, because she talks about her new book, and her new book has been embargoed by the publishers, I think for another week or two. So we then quickly had to do a quick rejig. So that's why we kicked off with Patrick. And actually, I'm really delighted that we did, because I haven't spoken so much about food and farming for a while. I've been talking a lot, haven't I, in recent months about mental health and resilience and grit and hope and joy and all these things, talking a lot about hormones, talking a lot about gut health, and actually the kind of the big issue, the big overarching issue that so much of this comes into is about food production and the bottom line, which is, where is our food coming from? How is it being grown? How much do we have to pay for it? How are we going to support our British, very often family-run farmers and growers to keep them in business and regenerate rural communities and all of that? So anyway, it's a vast subject, but one that I do return to time and time again. And there is quite a lot on the lizearlewellbeing.com website, including films that I've made about grass-fed cows, for example. Years ago, I was making documentaries about all of this. So thank you, Victoria. Yeah, I hope 2020 is making us appreciate our British farmers and food producers more. I hope so too. And I think what we've seen, haven't we, is a lot of direct contact now. Because farmers, and I speak as a farmer, but also as somebody who's quite embedded in the local farming community here, farmers are focused on farming. They grow food, that's what they do. And they tend the soil and they look after the land or the animals or the crops or whatever it is. They are not very good at social media. You're lucky if you get them online. Filling out a DEFRA form online is probably about as far as it goes for many, particularly old school farmers. And I think they really suffer because they don't have a strong voice necessarily in social media. Everybody takes to the, Twitter sphere or whatever. And it's very easy to chuck rocks at people. But actually, where's your right of reply? And the farmers are so busy. I mean, I was out late last night and I could see tractor headlights and all of that out there with the farmers working late, they may well have been working into the small hours, harvesting before the rains come. They are not sitting on their screens inside going, oh, I wonder who I can tweet about this. They're just doing it, okay? So I think it's up to us, for those of us who care about these things, who have a platform and have a voice, to just occasionally give a shout out. So that's why I am an ambassador for the Sustainable Food Trust and for the Soil Association, and also for Love British Food. And ironically, my fellow ambassador for Love British Food is Raymond Blanc. Yes, Frenchman. But he's been in this country for, I don't know how many years, Manuel Quatre Saisons, probably 20, 30 years. And he's passionate also about British local producers and supporting. So we've got a few other ambassadors now, but we're gearing up because Love British Food, they have a special fortnight coming up in September, which is all about seeing how much we can possibly buy that is British. Anyway, I digress because I know that I've got several questions here on my little Google Doc that Amy has very kindly sent through. Talking about, so I mentioned this, yes, so this is Oliver Bonas. Just want to share actually, because I did check out before wearing it. I thought I'm just going to check them out and make sure that they are a decent company. And you know me, I do like to support founder-led brands in particular, and the smaller brands. So I didn't really know the history about Oliver Bonas, and this is it. And it says it's an independent British lifestyle store, started by its founder, Ollie, who was influenced by the many countries he lived in while growing up. He studied anthropology at uni, he travelled a lot, and he began to bring presents back for his friends. And he turned that in 1993 into a small business, hence Oliver Bonas. So I just flick onto Instagram again, make sure that you guys are still with me. Are you still with me? I hope you are. Paused due to poor connection. Hello, hello. Are you still with me? Yeah, you're right, Patsy. The farmers do need this rain. They do. Unless they're haymaking, in which case they don't. So it's quite difficult to keep farmers happy, actually, as I've discovered, when you talk about the weather, because it's either too hot or it's too wet or it's something. Anyway, hopefully a lot of them are benefiting from the rain. So yeah, Ollie Bonas, he started his first shop in 1993 and he repainted it with his friends. Isn't that great? And he stood behind a second-hand till just to kind of get it going. And that is the way so many small brands turn into medium-sized brands and grow into bigger brands. So he's been doing that now 2 decades on, 20 years on. He has fashion and homeware. And what I really liked about this, and I think this will resonate with you as well, today, gosh, I didn't know that, it's grown into nearly 80 stores across the UK and Ireland. And the ideas are to have fun and to follow our company values, which are work hard, play hard, and be kind. Isn't that nice? It's company value, be kind, great. So Amy, do pop up the links there. Tracy, how can I boost my metabolism? Oh my goodness, that's a biggie. Exercise for sure. I don't know if you are on HRT, that can certainly help improve your energy levels if you are of that age where your estrogen levels are beginning to decline. Things like body brushing, iodine. So iodine, which I've talked about here, this is in the natural seaweed supplements, full of iodine. Iodine is the little gland that helps to regulate our metabolism. And we have, in fact, got a new article. Lots of you have asked for information on the thyroid and hyperthyroidism and thyroxine and all of that. So you ask, we listen. So in the next issue of Liz Earle Wellbeing magazine, my brilliant health and beauty senior writer, Ellie Smith, has written all about thyroid and metabolism. So if you are a subscriber, then you will be getting that very soon, because we're just about to press the print button. Literally, it's just about to go, which means that you do have to be a subscriber, by the way, because it's not going in the shops. Just to remind you, and we're not going to overprint lots of extra copies, you know, just in case, because part of the reason for doing this was to be less wasteful, to be sustainable. So, you know, if you ain't on the list, you may not get your September copy. So just to recap, so this issue in the shops is the very last one that's being sold in retail. So the next issues that you'll get direct from us. It won't be covered in all this cover line writing because we won't need it. It'll just be that lovely calm subscriber copy. I don't even know if the print run has gone. I think it may be going later on today. Maybe they'll wait till Monday, I'm not sure. But literally, if you are not a subscriber imminently, please, and you want to get the next issue, then please do subscribe, because we won't have lots of spare copies, unfortunately, to send out. So hopefully you will be able to subscribe. Don't forget that if you do subscribe, you get 6 issues for the price of 5. You get free postage and packing, so it's cheaper anyway than the shop. So it's better for you, it's better for us, it's better for the planet, it's just better all round. And at the moment, you get your £10 Neal's Yard voucher. And this, I've just got some of my lovely Neal's Yard things here. I love their blue glass, iconic bottles. Now, the way the voucher works, just to remind you, if you haven't heard me say this, is the voucher doesn't come with the magazine. The voucher is emailed to you from the subscription server, which is Warner's, our lovely subscription service, who are brilliant. Great company. Thank you very much, Warner's, for looking after all my subscribers. And they email you once the first bank payment has gone through. They then email you the Neal's Yard voucher. And if you've got any issues at all, do please contact them. So on the website, if you go to subscribe to magazine, you'll see, if you click on that, all the details for Warner's will come up. Email address, phone number, you can call them, you can talk to a real human being here in the UK. Great team. So please take advantage of that if you have any issues at all. So let's see what other questions I have got lined up for me here. And, oh, it's been quite busy. Oh, very interesting. This is the first one, actually, I'm looking at on the list here. This is from Lisa on Instagram, who says, are there any Soil Association certified brands you particularly rate? Presumably you mean beauty brands. Well, actually, funnily enough, I'm sure, yes, Neal's Yard, Soil Association certified. There you go. So, yes, I'm not sure who else they have, to be honest, but certainly Neal's Yard. They are not far from me, actually, down in the West Country, and I've talked about them before. I know Romy Fraser, their female founder. She worked as a teacher back in the day. She was all about education and doing things properly, and I think they're one of the first brands, if not the only brand, to have dual certification. I think it's called, I know Fair and Fine is my jewellery. I've got my Fair and Fine earrings, and it's something else. It's called, is it Fine and Fair or Fair something? Anyway, they are dual certified with their oils, as well as being certified organic. So yeah, really, really nice brand. I do rate them. And I do love this new range, actually. This is their Wild Rose range. And as you may know, I have a Wild Range jewellery collection, because I love that. I just love that little hedgerow. So it's not the kind of the big blossomy roses. It's the really pretty, almost like the Tudor rose, like the Tudor rose of England. And I've got a little necklace and bracelet and earrings. But these earrings, actually, speaking of, these are my Ivy earrings. And these, I think, for one more week, are on massive discount. And there are not that many left, just to warn you. They have been flying out of the door. So we've got some in rose gold and some in yellow gold. And they are 40%. 40% off if you use IV40. Anyway, go and take a look. That's lizearlejewellery.com if you want to check that out later. Alice says, what body brushing techniques can you recommend? So get yourself a good natural bristle brush. So, you know, something like this. I popped a link in Linktree to this. Also, I think there are links on the article. You might want to take a read of the article first on Liz Earle Wellbeing. So use natural bristles and always go upwards. And, you know, when you first do it, it'll feel really strange. You know, if you've never dry body brushed before, it feels slightly scratchy, slightly tingly, and you think, oh my goodness, what's going on here? But after a while, you get completely addicted to it. It feels really invigorating, really bracing. And when you see the results on your skin, just making your skin smoother and sleeker and just a bit more refined, I think it's great. You know, the dry skin body brushing, followed by a cold shower. I don't know if you read my article on cold showers in the last issue of the magazine. Seriously, that combo will just set you up. You'll be invincible. How many glasses of the turmeric a day do you recommend? And that's from Anne on Facebook. Do you know, it's a drink. It's not a science and it's not a medicine. It's a bit like using turmeric in cooking or using live yogurt in cooking. You can mix it up. There's no kind of prescription for it. I think be guided by how you feel. For me, I would personally, with this turmeric drink, I'd probably have maybe 2 or 3 glasses of this throughout the day. Actually, it's so delicious, I might have a bit more. I might have 3 or 4. So yeah, don't worry about overdoing it. I think the thing is, if you do overdo it with the good gut bugs, you will get bloating. So be aware of that and scale back accordingly. There was also a question here actually from Carol on Instagram who says, is the good gut box okay to use with IBS? Now, IBS can very often be helped with probiotics, but you need to be careful that you don't over proliferate. So if you have got lots of the less good gut bugs going on that's contributing to the IBS, and you're wanting to switch things around, it's good to do it quite gradually. I would actually recommend listening to a podcast that I recorded with an IBS dietitian called Lara Tilt. And you'll find that on lizearlewellbeing.com. It was recorded a few seasons ago. I think maybe it came out last spring, maybe of 2019. Really, really good information specifically on IBS and bloating. So do head, if you go to lizearlewellbeing.com to the podcast section, if you put IBS, it'll pop up. Or if you just search IBS, actually you'll get lots of information on that. There's also information in my Good Gut Guide book, and also in the download. If you got your download, which was the e-guide to a happier, flatter tum, or is it a flatter, happier tum? I can't remember. Anyway, hopefully it's going to end up with both. If you manage to get that either free or you can download it now for $4.99, then that has a whole section on bloating. And one of the reasons actually it's called happier, flatter tum is it does help to reduce bloating. So really important. And we had a look at that actually the other day, because we offered it free for the whole month of July, just to really kind of try and be helpful during lockdown when people were concerned about eating well and getting back in shape and using this time to learn more about gut health. So we were able to give it away completely free, and we gave away over £70,000 worth. Isn't that amazing? So well done you if you got your free guide, and great, to be able just to put something back out there free of charge. And also obviously the podcasts are free, so if you want to take a listen to that, then please do. Leslie says, I don't have a water filter. Should I use bottled still water for the time being? I think it depends how much chlorine you've got in your water. I mean, the main issue with tap water is, and in terms of using it for fermenting, is that it is purified using chlorine, and some water authorities will use more chlorine than others. You can actually go online, you can check out your local water authority, and it'll give you parts per million of chlorine and all the different breakdowns from the different country around the country. You can also sometimes find that your water might smell more chlorinated because they've just done a big flush of chlorine through the pipes. So sometimes we get that down here, and I can just smell more chlorine coming out of the taps. You can actually dissipate chlorine. You can, I know with dogs and cats, for example, if you put down a bowl of tap water, they might ignore it for a bit, and then they'll come back to it a few hours later, and that's because the chlorine gas has gone. So you could actually just run some water from the tap in a big jug and leave it for a bit. But I think filtering water is a good idea. Or you could use bottled, but with bottles you've got all the transportation issues. I don't like to use single-use plastic, so I wouldn't use a plastic bottle for water. I'd try and buy it in glass. There are some really nice glass bottled waters, I have to say. Hilden I love, Buxton again, they just taste so good, but you do have the issues of sustainability and transport and all of that, so it's probably better if you can, I think, to filter your own. Although, of course, the filters are made of plastic too, so, it's a hard thing, isn't it, to get it right. We just have to kind of do the best we can, I think. This is from Jeanette on Facebook, who says, hi, how long will the contents of the gut box last before one starts to use it? There's no limit, really. You can keep it, I wouldn't keep the SCOBY for more than a month or so, and I'd try and keep it somewhere quite cool. You don't want them to start overheating if it really, if the hot weather returns and it starts to get hot again. So I think as long as you're keeping it cool, you can certainly keep it many weeks. I don't know if they have a use by date on them. I didn't actually check. No, it says an active. It says active by. I don't see why this wouldn't stay active, to be honest. The SCOBY. It says store at room temperature only, but if you wanted it to just kind of switch off for a bit, then I would keep mine in the fridge. That's what I do with mine. If I'm going away, I'll pop all my ferments in the fridge, and it just kind of sends them all to sleep. They have their own little holiday, and then I wake them all up again, bring them back out to room temperature. This is from Angela on Facebook. I have acid reflux, taking various meds. Tests show only have hiatus hernia. Would the Good Gut Box help with this, please? Potentially. Many people with acid reflux say that getting their gut into better shape helps. So I would certainly try it. Obviously with hiatus hernia you've got something physical there. So if you address that, it certainly isn't going to do any harm. So I would certainly always suggest, if you can, repopulate your gut with good gut bugs going forward. And we know there's such a strong link, isn't there, between probiotics, good gut health, and supporting the immune system, which particularly as we begin to start thinking about moving to autumn, winter, flu bugs, all of that, could be really helpful to help keep us feeling fitter. Can I take iodine if I'm on thyroxine? It depends. You'd really need to talk to your GP about that, and I guess you're having blood tests to detect your levels. The answer is probably not, but I think you should check because I'm not a medic and I cannot give you medical advice on that, I'm afraid. Natural remedies for anxiety, please, asks Jill on Facebook. Okay, I've got the perfect one for you, Jill, and that's Saffrosun. Actually, I've got two. Saffrosun from the Naked Pharmacy. I interviewed the guy from the Naked Pharmacy. Was it last week or the week before? That was on my Friday 5. Fascinating. Do please listen. You can go to his website, nakedpharmacy.co.uk, I like to think. Anyway, you'll find a link. Amy, sweet, maybe you can pop a link on for Saffrosun. And it's a crocus extract, and it's fascinating. And I was really sceptical, I will be honest, when I first received it, because they sent me some samples to try in a press release. And I thought, yeah, crocus, schmocus, what is this going to do? But actually, really helps. And they've had randomised clinical controlled trials. So that's the gold standard of clinical evidence showing that this does actually work. And I do give the children's version to my youngest, who is 10. And it really helps. Just take the edge off stuff. And they've done lots of studies actually with ADD and ADHD and helping you sleep. By the way, don't take it in the evening to help you sleep. That's what I was doing. But when I was talking to the founder, whose name will come back to me, I keep thinking of Craig, but that's Scottish Seaweed, they found that studies showed that because it's to do with circadian rhythms and the body clock, you're actually better to take your 2 capsules first thing in the morning, or take it with breakfast or brunch, but kind of take it earlier in the day and not take it just before you go to bed. Isn't that fascinating? So yeah, Saffrosun, I've started taking it again because things have kind of cranked up a bit here. So I just need to be just a bit calmer, just to make sure that I sleep really well. So I'm taking my Saffrosun. You get 20% off. I think the code for Saffrosun is Liz Loves 20. There'll be a link on Linktree on Instagram. But do go online, check out their website, read the reviews. It's really, it's a good one. It works. I wouldn't say Liz Loves if I didn't love it, and I do love it. And the other one, of course, for anxiety is sleep, slumber drops. I know everyone's loving Life Armour slumber drops. They really work. I think I've got every member of my family now. They've got their little bedside bottle of slumber drops because it just works. You just get a better night's sleep with these lovely herbs. I love the way that it's a liquid. It goes, you put it under your tongue, it's absorbed straight away into the body. You haven't got to wait for capsules to dissolve or any of that. It's just really good stuff. And again, Liz Loves, I think it gives you 15% off. Let me just check. I've got my list here. Life Armour. Yeah, Liz Loves in capitals gives you 15% off your order. And then, of course, the third thing that I can't not talk about if we're talking about sleep and anxiety, two together, is estrogen. If you listen to my podcast on anxiety with Dr. Rebecca Lewis, that was a few months ago, absolutely fascinating. So for midlife women, anybody really from age 40 onwards, having an issue with anxiety, do please listen, because we have estrogen receptors in our brains, as I keep saying. And as our estrogen levels dip, so our anxiety levels can increase. And of course, when we're faced with stressful situations like we are at the moment, that makes us even more vulnerable to anxiety. So if we can increase our estrogen safely through transdermal patches or gels, then that's a really good thing to do. Obviously, I've got my e-guide, The Truth About HRT, lots in there. If you're a skeptic, do please download it this weekend and take a read. It's really, really, really important. And I was just so annoyed. There was this deafening silence a week ago when the Women's Health Initiative, which was the big study done, what was it, 2012, was it? I can't remember it off the top of my head. linking estrogen with breast cancer, and there was a revision of the study that came out a week or so ago, published in the biggest medical journal in the world, JAMA, J-A-M-A, reviewed by all sorts of top clinical experts globally, saying that particularly for women who've had a hysterectomy or using estrogen only HRT, it actually lowers the risk of breast cancer. It lowers it. Okay, but this is a message that hasn't got out to the GPs. There was this awful silence. I was waiting for the headline. I was literally waiting for the Daily Mail to go, hey, guess what? We were wrong. HRT is lowering the risk of breast cancer. It's official. But no, there was nothing. So anyway, there were some very, very good podcasts and interviews and comments and threads on social media and all of that, with a lot of medics, but beyond that, I'm waiting for mainstream media to pick that up. Let's see. Talking of estrogen, though, just quickly before I go, because I know I've been banging on for far too long, as usual. I think it's because I'm only doing 3 a week now. I'm doing Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, so there's just always so much to say rather than doing it daily. Just to say that the estradiol estrogel scandal, I call it a scandal. Anyway, I think it's a scandal that not more is known about it. Is still rumbling on, and we have a new article all about it. It's just gone live on Liz Earle Wellbeing. Again, it was written by my senior health and beauty writer, Ellie, and she interviewed lots of the experts to get the latest information. And also, it tells us what to look for on the pack. So, for example, this was estradiol. But very often you can find it's over-labelled. So this is estradiol, but it's got an estrogel label on it. This was mine. So I was wondering why it wasn't working so well. This was mine from last summer. I brought it back from my family home in Italy when I was there. And I just wasn't sleeping very well last summer. And I just assumed it was because I was hot and it was summer. And actually, when I went and checked the cupboard and I saw the what I thought was estrogel that I'd left behind, it is actually estradiol. So I'm going to be reporting this one. I'm going to be reporting the batch number and the details of it on the Yellow Card app. And again, the feature that Ellie has written tells you all about how to do that. It tells you what to look for, how to talk to your GP, how to talk to your pharmacist, really important, because not all pharmacists are aware, and all sorts of things I've learned about parallel imports, PI, about how to ask your doctor to write things on the prescription so that you get estrogel and not estradiol. Things like if the pharmacist issues you with a prescription, you are free to change it as long as you haven't left the pharmacy. So if you get, 3 or 4 of these in your prescription, open up each one before you leave the pharmacy. So in full view, just check the label, check it hasn't been over-labelled. And if it's not what was on your prescription, you have the right then to go back to the pharmacist and say, I'm really sorry, but I need to return this and you need to give me my prescription back if you can't fulfil exactly what it says. And if your prescription is sent in electronically, because I know that a lot of GP surgeries now, they don't even give you a paper prescription, they send it to the pharmacy where you're going to pick it up from. So you don't have the prescription to hold to take somewhere else. In that case, there's something you can do, which I learnt. Who knew? You can say, can you send it back to the spine, and I can get it reissued somewhere else. And that's what you do. So apparently they can return it to whatever the spine is on the NHS system, and then the prescription can be reissued by another pharmacy where they do actually have the proper estrogel. So there you go, all this stuff we learn. So lots of information. If that is an issue for you, or you've got friends who are on HRT gel, and you think that they ought to be made aware of this, or you're somebody who's seen a return of your symptoms, obviously things like anxiety levels, insomnia, all of those, and you think that your HRT isn't working perhaps, do check it out and see whether you've got estrogel or estradiol. And if you think you've got estrogel, do please check under the label, because some of these have been over-labelled. They even sometimes come in boxes that say estrogel, which is why you need to open the box in the chemists and check what's inside. Isn't it maddening that we have to do this? Aren't you outraged by it? I am. I'm just so tired and weary of this ongoing battle, but determined. So thank you for sharing the word with everybody. Thank you for sharing links to all the stuff that we do here at Liz Earle Wellbeing. I think it's slowly helping to make a difference. So anyway, I'm going to stop now. I'm going to have another sip of my turmeric tea. So good. Don't forget to check out all the links. Instagram, lovely to have you with me. Thank you. I can see all your chats going on. It's just great. And big hearts back. I can see all the hearts appearing on the screen. Big hearts back. Don't forget, head to Linktree in my main Instagram bio. That's if you click on my main little round circle picture, the few lines of blurb about me at the bottom, it says Linktree. Click on that and we've preloaded that with links to everything that I've talked about today and more. Please subscribe. Literally today, if you haven't, because otherwise you really may not get your September copy and I'd hate you to miss it. Anyway, lots of love. Sending kisses to everybody. Thank you. See you Monday. See you then. Have a great weekend. Bye.